All right, time to talk about movies I saw in 2017. As I look back and rank all the superhero movies, as well as mention some of the other movies I watched that were not comic book based. I should say rank the comic book movies, as I include non superhero material on this list as well. All right, so let's just jump straight into the comic book stuff. Um, so, of course, I'll be ranking from lowest rated, from the one I considered the least impactful and interesting to to the one that I thought was genuinely fantastic. Now, I should say there was no real comic book movie this year where I stopped and was like, well, that was pure fucking garbage. Hated every minute of that. Should also be noted that I have not watched My Friend Dahmer, sadly. I wished I'd gotten a chance to see it, but it was in very limited release. The book itself is good. If you haven't read My Friend Dahmer, great little nonfiction graphic novel. I'm hoping the movie is as good as the book, in which case it'd probably be pretty great, but I haven't seen it, unfortunately. So let's just start off right at the bat. Should have counted these. All right, ranked all the way down at number 11. The comic book movie I was least impressed with this year. And it's funny that this would be my least impressed with movie because honestly, I thought it was an improvement over the previous film, which is The Kingsman, The Golden Circle. I enjoyed it, thought it was a fun movie when I watched it, but honestly, I dig Matthew Vaughn's action style, but it feels a little bit fake throughout the movie. And there are a couple key action sequences that are really, really cool, but it's all very heavily CGI. And I'll be honest, oh my god, how am I forgetting his name right now? The cameo by Sir Elton John, which stretches quite a bit out of the range of cameo into kind of an actual character in the movie, just got old for me fast. And like at a certain level, it was like, okay, yep, okay. This is just aggrandizement for Elton John, and I felt I could have done the whole movie without any of it. And I actually maybe would have liked it better if they killed him. Nothing against Elton John, just the way he was used in the film was annoying. So yeah, so moving up from The Kingsman to the next movie after that, Thor Ragnarok. Don't freak out, Internet. It's not at the bottom because I hate it. It's at the bottom because I didn't like it as much as everything else. A lot of people love Thor Ragnarok, which I guess is cool. It's a fun movie. It's got a lot of funny, stupid lines. But for me, and I had trouble putting my finger on exactly what bothered me about Thor Ragnarok until another person said it to me as well. The thing about Thor Ragnarok is that it's a movie where a lot of big stuff happens, but the movie constantly acts like nothing big is happening at all. Like what is happening is a lot of things happen in the movie that should have weight, that should be intense. There's lots of characters who die, but the movie really only focuses on the death of two of them and kills many of the other characters, some of whom we've watched through two other movies, just die within a few seconds of even appearing on screen and don't really get a send-off in any way that we would expect for characters we've already invested this much time and energy in. Which I hate. I hate when movies do that. As the movie goes on, a lot of other important things happen, but you never really stop to think about any of it because the movie is just too busy throwing jokes in our face. And don't get me wrong, there are things I like about the movie, specifically Hulk. This version of the Incredible Hulk, we're never going to get a great Incredible Hulk movie. Why? Because Disney's never going to adapt that material properly. If you've read a lot of the most important Hulk stories, you already know that Disney's never going to make a good Hulk movie because Disney's not going to make a movie about the adult survivor of child abuse. They wouldn't make Demon in a Bottle. They're not going to make a good Hulk movie. So that just goes without saying. The thing about Thor Ragnarok And Hulk is my favorite part. I had some of the I thought some of the funniest moments, and I even enjoy the fact that Mark Ruffalo's performance in this one as Bruce Banner feels like he's even trying to play a little bit more like Edward Norton, which I'm totally cool with. I liked Edward Norton as Bruce Banner a lot, and I even enjoy the Incredible Hulk, even though it never really touches on some of the core issues of the Hulk character, which disappoints me. But still, I like it. It's actually one of my I think one of the most underrated movies in the MCU is The Incredible Hulk. The most overrated, probably Thor Ragnarok. And the worst is, of course, Iron Man 3. But we're not talking about Iron Man 3 right now. Let's get back to this year and these movies. Next up, comic book adaptation, Valerian. Yes, I did actually. I enjoyed Valerian. I thought it was good. I thought it was a fun movie. A lot of sci-fi action. I do understand that a lot of people didn't buy into it. And I feel like a part of that is Dane DeHaan. See, I don't mind Dane DeHaan. I like Dane DeHaan. I can deal with Dane DeHaan being the lead man. I don't think he could carry it for normal mainstream people. Like, I feel like the mainstream audiences were like, who's this weird-looking, teenager-looking guy? And just never really bought into his character. At least that's what I think happened with Valerian, because I honestly thought Valerian was a decently good time. Not the most incredible movie I've ever seen, but honestly a science fiction epic worth watching. It's a shame. Unless it does super well in China, we'll probably never see the sequels. And that brings us to the movie that I so wish, that I wanted so bad to be good enough to be my number one. I was so hopeful. I was so invested. I wanted it to be number one. And while I still enjoyed the film, Justice League. Yeah, it's higher up than those other movies, but the level of disappointment that I felt was probably higher. Because my hopes for Thor were terrible. But with Justice League, I honestly had seen nothing but promise. And I was super hopeful. And I was down for Zack Snyder's weird Jesus arc of Superman that he was doing with these movies. I had bought into it. I was like, fine, that's what you're doing. I can deal with it. I like subtext, even though it's not the most original subtext. I'm still down with that. But the thing is, I can't not punish Justice League a little bit for some things. For starters, Joss Whedon. The Joss Whedon stuff is not good. Like, there are a number of Joss Whedon points where it's just like, what the fuck? Like, I didn't need Justice League to be campier. I didn't. I never wanted that. There's just these goofy, like, Joss Whedon moments and things that I would rather have seen Zack Snyder's version. And it's not like the Zack Snyder's version wasn't funny. We know it had jokes in it because there were jokes in the trailers that you cut out of the final film. And Joss Whedon goes too far with lightening things up. It's similar to my problem I had with Thor. There's just this part where important things are happening, but the movie's not letting us feel it. And it starts out great. It's like the opening sequence, World Without Superman, like, pulled me in. I was down at that moment. I was like, hell yeah. By the time we get to the third act, and I'll be honest, the scene that Joss Whedon had with Batman and the Parademons, where he sets up that whole thing to justify the changes to the end, which incidentally are not as good as how it was originally supposed to end, just so you all know. Just so cheesy, and like, I want to punch the guy who plays the criminal that Batman uses as bait in the face. And Batman just lets that guy go. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, Joss Whedon, what the fuck? And then that's just... They almost go too far on lightening it up. And cutting 30 minutes out of a movie is a bad idea, Warner Brothers. And the fact that you're not going to give us a more complete cut with at least a little bit more development to the characters and storyline. We know that stuff was shot. You could give us some of it. to tell us you're not going to do it pisses me off. Because when I was watching it, all I thought to myself was, I'm really looking forward to the extended cut of this because I'm sure it'll be better. So, Warner Bros., if you think you don't need to list an extended cut, or at least put some of that footage back in, I'm going to tell you right now, you're wrong. Do it. Give us an extended version. Please, for the love of God, Warner Brothers, give me that. Give me more of this movie. It's the Justice League. It didn't need to be only 2 hours. The Justice League has a right to be epic. If you're going to make a movie 2.5 hours long, make it the fucking Justice League. The Justice League as a property deserves to be epic. It didn't need to be cut down to 2 hours. Technically, slightly less than 2 hours. It didn't need to be cut down that much. It's the Justice League. Even 10, 20 minutes more to this film could have put it in a better standing. Stop chopping up your films, Warner Brothers. Seriously. That being said, I still rank it higher than the previous movies. I still enjoyed it. There was still some good stuff in it. Killer action scenes and whatnot. I still like it. I'm still like the DCU. I just wish Warner Brothers would get out of their own way. Like almost everything that has gone wrong with their universe and their movies has in fact been their own interference in it. Chopping up movies, cutting out important scenes and details. It's a mistake, Warner Brothers. That's not how you do it. Show some commitment. Show me some balls. Show me that you have confidence in the movies you want to put out. Okay? Just do that. Moving right along. The next movie on this list, another spy film that actually I liked better than the Kingsman. Atomic Blonde. Atomic Blonde is fucking badass. It's worth the price of admissions for this one fight scene that features, for this one fight scene in the movie alone. It was a blast. Honestly, it's a blast. It's a good spy thriller. It's full of fun stuff. I still find the ending of the book a little bit cleaner, a lot more. It gets the point more across. Their efforts to turn this into a franchise, I feel like, muddied the overall story of it a bit. And moving next up on the list after Atomic Blonde, and this one will be a controversial pick, but I watched it on Blu-ray, and I gotta be honest, it was actually fucking awesome. Ghost in the Shell. Yes, the whole whitewashing controversy. I'd feel worse about it if it wasn't based on a Japanese property. You see, the thing is that the Japanese don't care. The Japanese loved Scarlett Johansson. The Japanese critics thought she was great, and Japanese audiences typically were more favorable to the movie than American audiences, while American audiences were too worried about it offending the Japanese. See, that's the thing you have to understand. Cultural appropriation is not as black and white as we make it out to be. Why? Because not all countries are anti-cultural appropriation. Japan loves cultural appropriation. They love stealing from other people, and they love it when you steal their stuff. They would like you to appropriate parts of their culture. They would like to spread the ideas and values of Japan. They are down for that. And Japan themselves likes taking from other people's cultures too. If you watch enough anime, I'm going to let you in a secret. Japanese anime uses a lot of Christian symbology in it. They ain't a heavily Christian nation. They just like taking parts of our culture. They're into that. And how you feel about that's a good question. But that's not my point. My point is that Ghost in the Shell is actually a solid adaptation of the comic book. Sure, it's streamlined a little bit for mainstream audiences, but honestly, it's effective and cool, and Scarlett Johansson does a good job. The fact that this is a little bit spoilery, but the fact that the actor is white is even addressed in the storyline. Like, her brain actually comes from an Asian person. She's just been put in a, I guess, white-looking body. Probably because it's a Eurocentric corporation who pays for her to be developed. I don't know. But honestly, it's kind of an awesome movie, and I would actually recommend Ghost in the Shell. Absolutely. Next up on my list, of course, is Spider-Man Homecoming. Spider-Man Homecoming almost didn't get quite as high up on the list. For a large portion of the movie when I was watching it, it was kind of riding this heavy 8 vibe, sort of like a hard 8 vibe, where like I would give it an 8. But but there were two things that put it over the top for me that got it higher on this list that made me think it was really great. Those two things, Michael Keaton is the best villain in the MCU, period. He makes sense, his motivation is clear, and like, if you look at him, you can even see his side of the argument. He is just like Tony Stark. The only difference between him and Tony Stark is that Tony Stark sells to governments, and he sells to everyday criminals. That's the only difference between them. One of them just sells to bigger criminals. And the other thing that put it over the top, the thing that really made Homecoming work for me, and I was like, fuck it, I love this movie, is the fact that Peter Parker goes into the wreckage to save the Vulture from the fire. And that's a huge spoiler. I should have warned somebody, but I'll mark the video spoilers. That's heroism. And like, when most of the MCU is basically guys who work for the government going places and killing people, that's most of the MCU, by the way, if you pay attention. Most of the people in the MCU work for the military and murder terrorists. That's half of the MCU. When that's so much of the MCU, it's so nice to see Spider-Man actually being this sort of heroic superhero do-gooder, someone who just wants to do right, doesn't want to kill people. It's a beautiful thing in a universe where Tony Stark shoots a terrorist in the face at point-blank range with a rocket launcher. Well, miniature rocket launcher on his arm. You get the idea. So next up from that, though, gotta go with Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy. Oh my god. Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I really liked Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I would actually say that I like Guardians of the Galaxy 2 more than Guardians of the Galaxy 1. Why? The overall story arc is stronger. Now, don't get me wrong, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 has its flaws. A lot of the humor feels a lot more forced in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I don't need those turd jokes in there. Why would what's-his-face think that purple robot lady would want a necklace? Like, it's a stupid joke. I don't really care for the scene where they're playing catch, although the film earns that scene a little bit more than I'd like to admit. But Guardians of the Galaxy is overall tighter. The whole idea of Ego as the villain, it's a Marvel movie where the villain is central, and the themes are strong. The subtext is fatherhood. This immediately puts it ahead of a lot of other MCU movies where there's not really any subtext, and the villain isn't central. But in this movie, the villain is central. And god damn it, if Yondu isn't the biggest badass in the galaxy, I actually don't know if Guardians of the Galaxy 3 will be able to top Guardians of the Galaxy 2 because it won't have any fucking Yondu, who is way better than the character who is gonna get Yondu's powers, apparently. But yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy, absolutely loved it. Yeah, the reason it's not higher on the list is just because, honestly, some of the humor was kind of forced. It didn't come across nearly as naturally as Guardians of the Galaxy 1, and its tone wasn't as consistent as Thor Ragnarok. In terms of humor, just a few moments where the jokes was like, I felt like we didn't need that, or that joke was just dumb. Unlike Thor Ragnarok, where all the jokes are dumb. So moving on from Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Wonder Woman! I can't do that. That was terrible. Please forget that happened. I could edit it out, but I won't. Wonder Woman. Honestly, we finally got it. We finally got a good female superhero movie on the big screen. It's awesome. I really like it. the reason it's at number 3 instead of like 2 or 1 is just because the third act isn't quite as strong. Surprise villains. I'm sorry, no, that's not the third act. The third act's actually pretty decent in Wonder Woman. It's specifically the villains that aren't fully there. They're good, but they're not great. Like them, don't love them, that type of deal. You know? And it is nice to get Dr. Poison in there, although many fans didn't even know who the hell that was. But Gal Gadot does a great job. Chris Pine does a great job. The movie is beautiful. The action is great. A lot of people hate on Ares, but I read Brian Azzarello's run on Wonder Woman, so I'm used to Ares as an old guy. I'm fine with that, really. Wonder Woman, just a lot of fun. Now, my surprise, my number two comic book movie of the year, which I thought was just fucking amazing, just funny, and a great story. Actually, one of the best Batman stories ever told. Lego fucking Batman. Lego Batman is both simultaneously somehow a toy tie-in movie that is both heartfelt, hilarious, and actually one of the best Batman stories ever put on film. Now, it does take some liberties that I didn't really care for. Like, it took me a while to get used to the fact that the Dick Grayson in this movie is nothing like the Dick Graysons in any other comic, in any other adaptation of Batman or the comics. In fact, he's not actually entirely... The closest thing to him would be like 1940s Robin. But Michael Cera does a good job, and the character's funny, and it works in the dynamic that they're trying to develop for the film, so I sort of got over it. Also, Batgirl is old enough to be Batwoman, so it's kind of weird that she's not called Batwoman, although Batwoman is an entirely different character, so I guess you can't. But Batgirl does a great job, but it is a little bit weird that she's an adult and not a teenager like she was originally in the comics. But yeah, Lego Batman is just, it's so good. And it's a shame that it was one of the lower grossing movies on this list. It did better than Valerian, but other movies on the list it did not do as well. Because it's fantastic, and I 100% recommend Lego Batman. You have to see it. But my number one comic book movie, Logan. Oh my God, Logan. Oh my God, it's so good. And I bought the Blu-ray almost right away. I got the one with the noir cut. I watched the noir cut. Guess what? Shockingly, that movie is fucking gorgeous in black and white. It looks great in black and white. Sure, a lot of people complain that it's heavy and sad, but damn it, I want some weight from some of my superhero movies, especially with franchises that have earned it. Show me the goddamn... Hugh Jackman with this movie has won me over 100% with his Wolverine. I'll be honest, I was always skeptical. I was always the first person in the room to go, Hugh Jackman's too fucking tall to be Wolverine. But, finally, after seeing this movie, I love him all the more. I'm sad to see him go. This movie is great. It shows us some of the things about Wolverine I've always wanted to see, and the overall storyline with Professor X gets me right fucking there. Oh my God. I saw this movie twice in theaters. I bought the Blu-ray. I loved Logan. It is the best comic book movie that has been made since the Dark Knight trilogy. It's that fucking good. It shows you different things we haven't seen in comic book movies. It suggests that there are more things we can do with superheroes beyond this Marvel formula that is slowly consuming comic book movies. It's just... Logan is the reason that I am... Logan and the canceling of X-23 by Disney. God, I hope that's just a rumor and that they're still going to make it. Or why part of me is genuinely sad that Disney has bought Fox. Because I don't know if Disney will ever make a movie as good as Logan. I just don't think they will. I just don't see it. So that's all the comic book movies of the year, but I saw other movies this year as well. Gotta give a shout out to John Wick 2. Holy shit, it's so fucking good. How have you not seen it yet? Gotta give, in terms of horror movies, saw a handful of horror movies this year. I saw, I'll even rank those for you real quick. Worst horror movie I saw this year, Life. Fuck that movie. I mean, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but it's essentially just, I've seen this movie a dozen times because it's basically just all the Alien knockoffs from the late 80s and early 90s that we were subjected to back then. And it's just not as good as Alien, although it borrows from it liberally and basically just combines Alien with Gravity, which is kind of the best part about it, is its use of zero-G gravity. But in a movie where you can tell, you know exactly why they're going to die, why would you electrocute the alien awake? What the fuck is wrong with you? Of course it's going to think you're hostile and murder all of you. Because that's what fucking happens, because you're all idiots, and the film criminally underutilizes Ryan Reynolds. Like, criminally. He's literally just there to be Ryan Reynolds and be the guy who's like, I don't know about this the whole time. So, like, criminal underuse of him. Criminal underuse of him. Then, the next horror movie up, The Alien Covenant, which has its moments. It's a good-looking film, competently directed, not competently written at all. It's not very competently written, but it's kind of competently directed, and it's a gorgeous-looking film. It's not well written. And the best thing about it is the scenes between two robots. Not the alien stuff. The alien stuff is a little bit disappointing, but I still enjoyed it more than Life, because fuck Life. That sounds bad to say, but it's a stupid movie. And then we got the other three horror movies I saw. Next would be It. I liked it. It is very well done, very enjoyable. I'm getting real tired of the 80s nostalgia thing, which I also had to put up with Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor and Atomic Blonde. So much 80s nostalgia. At least with Atomic Blonde, I understand why there's 80s nostalgia. It takes place in the 80s, and so does It, although the book takes place in the 50s. The only thing I really have against It is that, and there's nothing the movie can do about this, it's just that, like, we've seen the tropes from It used so many other places by the time that this movie came out. The only thing it has going for it is nostalgia. Like, I've seen all these tropes before. All of them. Don't get me wrong, still a great movie, still very well done. It also still has a lot of scenes where characters do stupid shit because it's a horror movie, and if they don't do stupid shit, it's not as scary for some reason. I hate that shit. But, I also saw Mother. I liked Mother a lot. Totally understand if you wouldn't. But I liked it better than It. It's shocking. It's violent. It's got a lot of subtext and allegory. I enjoyed it. It's crazy as fuck. Always constantly have this sense that danger's coming from somewhere and you don't know where. But the horror movie I enjoyed the most this year was Get Out. Get Out is a jolly good time. Definitely recommend it. Gotta love Jordan Peele. Fucking, it's good. Lots of commentary, scares, psychological elements. It gets a little trippy. Definitely recommend Get Out. Like it a lot. So those are the horror movies. But just going to say, I did enjoy Star Wars. Got to give a small shout out to The Last Jedi. I think the haters are hating on nothing. Well, that's not true. There are some legitimate things to complain about in that movie, but running out of fuel isn't one of them. As someone posted on my Last Jedi review, they have run out of fuel, complaining that their ship was running out of fuel. I'm sorry, but like at numerous points in other Star Wars movies and Star Wars material, they have mentioned the ships run on fuel. I don't know why that bothered you. That's a stupid thing to bother you. I will say I like The Last Jedi. I actually think it's technically a better movie than The Force Awakens, which is just derivative nostalgia. Good derivative nostalgia, but still derivative nostalgia. But my movie of the year, the movie I would actually say was the best movie I saw in theaters all year. It's a criminal shame that it did not do as well as almost any of the other movies on my list. Well, it did better than Valerian, and I think it did better than The Kingsman, but most of the movies on this list made more money than this movie, which is a shame, because definitely the best movie I saw this year was Blade Runner 2049. If you have not seen Blade Runner 2049, stop watching this video right now and go watch Blade Runner 2049. It's a fantastic fucking film. I recommend it. Even if you haven't seen the other Blade Runner, just go watch it. Seriously. I barely remember the previous Blade Runner, and it still totally pulled me in, and I loved every minute of it. Go see Blade Runner 2049. Movie of the year. That's my movie of the year that I saw. I haven't seen all the movies. Deal with it. All right, so that's it's a long-ass video, but those are my movies. 2017. Oh, I also enjoyed Jackie Chan and The Foreigner, although I realize that's not everyone's cup of tea. But, yeah, 2017 was a hell of a ride. A lot of good movies. Definitely check out the movies that I talked about, especially Lego Batman and Blade Runner 2049, which did not get the attention they both deserved. Take it easy, Internet. Oh, like, subscribe, comment, notifications, all that jazz. Thank you. Oh, and Dunkirk. Dunkirk was sweet, too. Dunkirk was awesome.
So many good movies this year. Jeez.